Well, well, well. If it isn't another anime adaptation of a game that I absolutely adore. You may have a track record for shows I like, A1, as well as a name that would fit quite nicely into this particular story. But I still remember what you did to Persona 5. So I approached Nier Automata version 1.1a with caution, and it was pretty good actually. Not perfect, but good. Episode 1, as is often the case, had the responsibility of setting initial expectations, and the expectations set weren't terrible. The action can be a little chaotic at times, and the CG can be a bit jank, especially when we see 9S or 2B in their flight suits. Yikes. But other than that, the story is adapted rather faithfully. The decision to combine events from the A and B paths was a sensible one, and the game's OST is used masterfully. Not only is the story faithful to the events of Nier Automata, but it even goes out of its way to pay homage to events from the original Nier. In episode 2, when they talk about a volcano eruption, it looks suspiciously like a rocket launch. That's because it isn't a god that emerges from this mountain, but a machine named BP from Nier. I never played the original Nier, nor have I played Replicant in more recent times, but I've seen the analysis series of this game by Clamps enough times that I have a pretty decent understanding of the story. On top of the BP cameo, we get a glimpse at a royal wedding that took place in Nier, and despite having no reference to a meal in the first 3 episodes, we do get a story that begins when a machine discovers a lunar tear. So why am I banging on about the Nier references in the Nier Automata adaptation? Well, ever since I had to suffer through The Rise of Skywalker, I've developed a deep-rooted respect for any media that pays genuine homage to its less-than-popular past. But for real, back to Automata. While Episode 1 set some decent expectations, Episode 2 seemed determined to violently pull those expectations in 2 different directions. Until 2B and 9S get involved past the halfway point, the episode splits itself between 2 stories. One of a machine gaining consciousness, and one of the android resistance trying to resupply. Anything to do with the androids was dull and tedious. Since starting Red Hot Go, I have quickly lost patience for the trope of over-explaining the bleeding obvious. I realised that this issue existed within Automata 1.1 when the aforementioned conscious-gaining machine encounters a soldier, but doesn't attack. In a show that doesn't treat you like an idiot 3-year-old, the soldier would fire, run out of ammo, cautiously observe the machine, and then just as cautiously leave with his buddy without so much as a whisper. But because A1 doesn't trust you to think, the soldier has to complain out loud that he's out of bullets, and then blurt out that the machine isn't attacking him. Maybe this guy was meant to be the replicant for Speedwagon. This happens a few times throughout the episode. An android will say something that anyone with 2 eyes could have intuited for themselves, but the showrunners seemingly don't trust us to. This is especially annoying when contrasted with the conscious-gaining machine story. This part of the episode is A+. Because the machines aren't supposed to speak more than a few words, the story had to be told without any dialogue. And this animated show had to, get this, tell the story through its animation. If an android were cast in this story instead, you would have heard every thought they had. Oh, this picture is interesting, I wonder what it is. Oh no, I destroyed the flower, I'm really sad now. I must protect these seeds at all costs. But because there's little to no dialogue, you get to figure this stuff out for yourself, and as such, I felt a lot sadder for this machine when they inevitably fell victim to the ongoing conflict than I have for any of the Resistance members who drone on about how sad they are. However, I do like that the show is trying to set up future plot points more concretely. These setups aren't subtle, but I do think it will be better for the story that Devilar and Popolar are introduced early on, with hints of animosity from other Resistance fighters. I do think that the inevitable reunion of A2 and Lily will be more emotionally impactful because Lily is already weirded out meeting 2B. I even like the dialogue in episode 3 where 2B tells 9S not to use honorifics. It's not just a reminder of the events of episode 1, but if you know the extended lore about these 2 in particular, it even subtly hints at some of their history. I don't have an awful lot to say about the leading duo. Nothing they said or did really stood out because it's a fairly faithful adaptation, and I already know what to expect. I suppose that's the ultimate price to pay for red hot going an adaptation of a video game I love. But they obviously can't adapt everything. How, for instance, would they adapt the 20 or so joke endings from Nier Automata? What are they gonna do? Put on a puppet show after the credits or something? Despite having a lot of typical anime shortfalls, Nier Automata version 1.1a is so far a pretty decent adaptation, and I'm interested to see if they can keep it up. From ice cold to red hot, I give this show a rating of boiling. If you want to see what I think about the rest of the season, be sure to stick around for the end of year roundup. I'd like to thank my patrons: Orion Tran, Lars Espen, Data52, Jamman5, Pixcalibur, Tyler Bennett, Temka, Jeremy Pashik, Fireclaw, Chris, Luke Stewart, Ignacio, Swiss Cage, Gerald, and John. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.